So hello everyone. Today we will be discussing phytotherapy and herbal medicine, and that is under the branch of naturopathy. As we've discussed before, it is a popular care practice. And so I want to go over a little bit about what we'll be discussing, which is kind of what it is and about the history and also kind of this herbal medicine immunology research study that I found to be very interesting, as well as phytoceuticals slash phytomedicines versus pharmaceuticals and its similarities and differences. There's also going to be some herbal examples as well. So I want to talk about a little bit what phytotherapy is. It is pretty much self-medication with phytomedicines and herbs, and they are used in clinical practice of herbal medicine, essentially. So this can include the use of herbal supplements, plant extracts, plant-based therapies, and whatnot. And so here's some of the remedies and phytomedicine examples. For example, St. John's wort is used for depression, the plant extract that is. And then there's also the flowerhead of chamomile, which is known for gastrointestinal issues, and then it also has some anti-inflammatory properties. So that may also be beneficial to any conditions like arthritis that has a high inflammatory effect or symptom as well. And there's also things like the leaves of ginkgo, and those are known for usually helping with cognitive deficiencies. For example, there's things like memory issues and anxiety. And then there's also the whole digitalis genus and also hawthorn extract, which they're known for helping with heart disease, and hawthorn extract is, for example, known as for lowering blood pressure and stuff, so it may help with heart disease in that sense. I also want to talk a little bit about history of herbal medicine. It's very expansive. There's over 2,000 years of that, and it's included a lot in different things such as traditional Chinese medicines or Japanese Kampo, and then Indian Ayurveda and things like that. And it's overall become a lot more popular nowadays, especially within the 21st century Western medicine. It's also used to treat with other traditional healings like acupuncture, massage, and of course, herbal medicines can be used for a variety of things, and things like liver disease, asthma, other immune problems, menstrual problems, colds, headaches, and various cancers even. And so there is deep, long history of the usage of herbal medicines. There's also archaeological evidence of kind of a written record of potential herbs and what their properties are. For example, the methods of herbal folk healing that has the Mediterranean region's first European herbal De Materia Medica, written by the Greek physician Pedanios Discordus. And it discusses things like humoral pathology and elements, like different biles and phlegm. And then it also discusses local plants that they had around the region, and also what the properties are, and then kind of what effects they had. This was within the first CE AD. So there's that, and then there's also various examples from past history that have, for folks that have used herbal medicines. For example, there's a priest physician of ancient Egypt named Imhotep, who devised the first step pyramid of Saqqara, and he's a well-known physician. Back in that age, he used methods of herbal folk healing and then herbal medicine. There's also Galen, who was a personal physician to a Roman emperor. And then Paracelsus, And then there's also the Abbess of Heidelberg of Bingen and other great herbal of medieval times to now that have also been known to use herbal history and um, use that for health. And so, yeah. And here's just a picture of the De Materia Medica by Pedanios discords and what that kind of looked like. Of course, there's ancient Greek, and there's different things detailing different plants and their illustrations. So I thought that was cool. It's one of the oldest evidence we have on the archaeological record for any kind of records regarding herbal use. And so, yeah. I also want to discuss briefly about the herbal remedies and what it can affect in research and kind of immunology in the sense too. Because we have all this, record of ancient history and how that relates to herbal medicine, and there's a long kind of usage going on. And so nowadays, of course, there's more research involved with the scientific method as well. And during research, going back to one of the ancient traditions and ancient practices, Chinese traditional medicine, we've had, of course, history in herbal medicines, and this is one of them. This is one of research regarding specifically what it does to the immune systems and what it does to asthma. And so there's a study done. It has a lot of different, using like a mixture of 14 botanicals. And it was researching how these herbal medicines, this specific mix, it's called the Jia Wang Seng Zitang, and it is used to treat asthma commonly in China. And so what they found evidence for is that there's, reactivity in the airway was found to be reduced or eliminated. And of course, when your immune system, reacts to these allergens or asthma, they have effects like, for example, asthma's, narrowing of those bronchi, your airway passages. And so there's a lot of inflammation going on as such. A lot of your immune system's really hyperactive in a sense. And so that this herbal concoction has been known to have evidence to kind of reduce that, eliminate that. And then also lung histology showed kind of reduced inflammation and then mucus production compared to sham treated animals and other things, and other trials and experiments as well. So it has shown kind of to be reducing inflammation, at least some regard, and also how much mucus and potentially phlegm you produce from asthma and other COPD illnesses and kind of congestion and everything. So in some ways, it's one of the many examples where herbal remedies and, therapies and such does have an effect on health and has some sort of benefit to potentially, specifically what type of conditions you want to treat. And so, yeah. I also want to talk a little bit about different phytoceuticals and phytomedicines versus pharmaceuticals, and also their similarities too. And, what we learned from the research study earlier is that they, of course, used the scientific method and they went through a whole research process. And similar to pharmaceuticals, where, originally, of course, producing medicine and pharmaceuticals had the foundation basis of starting with plant and herb extracts, but through a lot of these processes, scientific processes, and modern pharmaceuticals may be seen as very different. It's expansive in terms of what it includes, and so nowadays it's more about there's a lot of pharmaceuticals that have plant derivatives, such as, of course, you've maybe heard of willow bark as being used as an Advil and such. But overall, modern pharmaceuticals is a lot about, the process is over time they process different chemicals and plant extracts to be really refined. And then there's also synthetic production, manufactured production as well. So not those are not always necessarily purely plant based, but synthetically made and such. And so one of the pharmaceuticals, well, production, like the making of that, the goal is to really have a consistent and uniform composition. And their goal is to kind of better the natural products and maybe kind of better the phytoceuticals, phytomedicines products that they have, and by enhancing kind of the desired properties, let's say the active ingredients, maybe, isolating that, and then also decreasing negative side effects or effects that can come. And so, in that sense, because of the uniform composition, and because the goal is to kind of really refine it, and also, and it is kind of a little more pure, or at least it is also held up to the pharmaceutical company standards of safety and health. And so, in that way, it is different, but overall, there's a long historical process where, herbal medicine, herbal extracts, from ancient history all the way down to modern medicine, they have really just overall refined the process and kind of their specific, active ingredients they target, and include synthetics and everything, not always plant-based or derived, and things like that. And so we have become better at making specific medicines, isolating chemicals and such. So yeah. And phytoceutical is, I consider phytoceutical and phytomedicines pretty much the same. Phytoceuticals, you can think about, products or drugs related to only plant-based, plant-derived. And in a book's definition, it can be considered as a term for plant products or chemicals that are active on biological systems. So chemicals in plants that have an active effect on the body and health. And then, phytoceuticals can include things like herbal supplements, tinctures, extracts, chemically derived from plants. That is the key part, is that they are plant-based, and, they're not synthetically made or manufactured. Well, they aren't really, pretty much all of it has to be plant derived or either chemically or biologically, and such. So that's not always the case with pharmaceuticals. And so phytomedicines, here's another definition of sort. There are medicinal products that have pharmacologically active components that is made up of only plant material. They are multi-component and complex composition, really. And that is different from the goal of pharmaceuticals, which is to have a uniform, not very complex composition. And a lot of times they may have one active ingredient. They're not always necessarily multi-components, and such. So yeah, and then herbal medicines, phytomedicines, one con and one kind of difference as well to note that they usually have more often from the pharmaceuticals is that they can contain other parts that may affect the stability of main ingredients. They can also contain or impurities and things, which can also affect how how the main ingredient works or effects on the body. And so for herbal medicines and phytomedicines, at least we know that there needs to be a lot more research involved, as always with CAM and things like that. But there have been phytomedicines, of course, that have been researched, and of course, talking about, active chemicals that do have some sort of effect on the body. And as more research and studies continue, I'm sure in the future that we will have, more phytomedicines, phytoceuticals that, may not only gain popularity, but we know about, how to test for, and what kinds of testing and such that may be beneficial. For example, even now in pharmaceuticals and modern day medicine, we know that for at least them, there are certain drugs or pills and medicine that can't be, that are not recommended to be taken with things like alcohol or other drugs, because we do know about how their effects on the human body is, and maybe they won't be as effective. For example, if you take an antibiotic and then also drink at the same time. But for herbal medicines and phytomedicines, we need more of that research on how it kind of works or affects the body when it's with other stuff, or taking with other kind of chemicals and drugs. Overall, we need more research in that area. And so, yeah, those are some of the key kind of differences between pharmaceuticals and phytoceuticals, and kind of the main foundational similarity is that, they're all, once upon a time, they came from herbal medicine. And for pharmaceuticals, it has just, in terms of, the process and everything, it really has kind of evolved in the sense of their methods, their practices, and kind of different purposes, and different standards. Because with different phytomedicines and herbal medicines, those, of course, right now, because some of them are herbal supplements and dietary supplements, they're not always FDA kind of approved. And so I know with phytomedicine, some products may be more researched, and some supplements are like more pure in that sense. And so I also want to give a little bit of an example for what at least two of the items that I have that are considered what I consider phytomedicines, or what are considered pharmaceuticals. So I have right here, you can see this. This is a Don Quai root herbal extract that is really great for, symptoms of the menstrual cramping and kind of the overall menstrual cycle. And so this would be considered like a pure herbal extract that you can use. And it's really important to listen to kind of the ingredients and also the amount of servings as well. And there's also another one that I like to use, which is the tea tree oil antiseptic. And of course, you can see at the side, it is 100% pure, at least I claim to. And so, yeah, this overall tree tea oil is good for a whole host of different things, including not only being antiseptic, but also for other things, treats for cuts and minor burns and such. So these are just the two examples that I have for phytomedicines. And there are a lot of plant extract based and such. So, going back to the overall takeaways that I have for this presentation is that, herbal medicine and phytotherapy, it's been around for a long time. It's included in various different, practices that are also within CAM. And it's, the research, there has been lots of different research studies done on different types of herbs and such. And overall, what they say is that there's some sort of evidence for a positive effect in managing various symptoms and conditions. And I would say that overall, herbal remedies itself needs more to be researched. I know that phytoceuticals and phytomedicines, specific chemical components of plant-derived medicines have been more researched, in the sense that there are more. A lot of other articles that I found are, from books and from Google Scholar and everything. So herbal remedies, we definitely need more research. And then I feel more confident in some of the phytoceuticals and medicines area of herbal medicines, because they are, of course, more chemically and they research based, and they show how exactly what parts of the plant extracts and plants are the most useful and tested in studies. But in terms of the other overall herbal remedies and things outside of clearly plant-derived phytoceuticals and chemicals that have been researched, those remedies needs to be kind of also more, in fact, there needs to be more information done for at least me to be able to feel confident. But for right now, I trust in things like the 2 items I showed you earlier, the plant-derived extracts and such. And then also pharmaceuticals, it's important to note that throughout history, where it first came from, where the word originated and everything, it does have its foundation in herbal remedies and medicines. It did come from that aspect, but it has, of course, evolved, and the process become more different, and kind of there are clear differences between phytoceuticals and phytomedicines and herbal remedies. And so pharmaceuticals, it's great that it came from the origins, that it does have similarities to the phytomedicines, but now, of course, it includes synthetic and manufactured drugs and everything, and how the perspective of how it's viewed now, at least in terms of medical pharmaceuticals, is different from, the whole purpose or what phytoceutical and phytomedicines are and what they mean. And so, yeah. And here are my sources too in APA format. And yeah. I hope you enjoyed my presentation, and I hope you learned something interesting today. Thank you.